This is a film about psychological warfare. A specific type of warfare designed to distract, misinform,
but trust me,
and anesthetize the brain. It has many disguises and is used against every one of them. Against them and against them. Of course, such Machiavellian activity requires a disguise, which is why propagandists call themselves the public relations industry. But do not be fooled. Public relations and propaganda are interchangeable. And it is the massive public relations industry that is designed to alter perception, reshape reality, and manufacture consent.
A Hollywood set designer was brought in to create a $200,000 backdrop for official war briefings.
Today, America alone has more public relations propagandists than reporters, which means that nearly half of what people in the West hear, see, or read is written by professional liars. Professional liars whose job it is to keep people in front of their televisions, reading gossip magazines, eating vast amounts of toxic food, and shopping, always shopping, for the latest fashions and trends. That's the ideal for propagandists. And great efforts are made in trying to achieve and maintain that ideal. Anything that keeps the masses from organizing themselves and asking important questions about what their masters are really up to. The 1960s, a period of heightened awareness and rebellion against the establishment, with students leading the resistance. But when the situation seems to be getting out of hand, the establishment ordered it to be stopped, and the propagandists moved quickly to lead the young people away from dangerous protests into such fashionable protests. That was then. This is now. Fashion, celebrity, sex, music, technology, any kind of revolution except the social revolution. In this film, we will reveal the methods used by the propagandists to control populations on behalf of their owners. Although these rich and powerful owners only make up 1% of the world's population, they have mastered the use of propaganda over 99% of the world's population, turning them into consumer slaves who work harder and harder to buy things they don't need. These consumer slaves are also made to pay taxes to their government, money which is used to develop new weapons for the pernicious invasions and occupations of other countries. In the last 5 years alone, they've given their owners more than $1 trillion for these illegal and immoral wars that can't be won, and are even encouraged to send their own children to fight them. This is Doctor of Psychology, Professor K. You have just been exposed to a range of propaganda devices used by the West to control, manipulate, neutralize, and anesthetize entire populations, its own and that of other nations.
모두 다 말이다. 이와 같은 정신적 왜곡 방법의 성공 비결은 어떻게
The success of these mind-warping devices depends on their remaining hidden from the masses.
남아 있느냐 하는 것에 있다고 할 수 있다. 그러나 경애하는 지도자 동지는 인민 모두가 스스로의 눈으로 정확하게 어떻게
But our dear leader has insisted that you see with your own eyes exactly how this war against the mind is used to turn Western citizens into compliant slaves.
이용되는지를 볼 것을 주장해 오셨다. 지금 이 사람이 세계 신기록을
Has this man just broken a world record? Has he just created a medicine that can save thousands of lives? Perhaps he's been chosen to represent his community in some way. No, this man has just purchased a telephone. And these people, what is making them scream and cry with such profound joy? They are on a television program where they are receiving consumer items. This for some boots. This for some clothes shelves. And this hysteria is not because they have found God, but because they are receiving sneakers. The propagandist knows that an individual has a natural desire to be on a winning side and appear to fit in with the crowd. One of the easiest ways to achieve this is to make them chant favorable, yet deliberately vague slogans like, "This changes everything."
This is going to change everything.
Just do it. I'm loving it. Or support our troops. The point of slogans like support our troops is that they don't mean anything. That's the whole point of good propaganda. You want to create a slogan that nobody's going to be against and everybody's going to be for. Nobody knows what it means because it doesn't mean anything. Points out Professor Noam Chomsky. With this in mind, propagandists can provide simple answers to complex problems and ask for approval without question.
Either you're with us, either you love freedom, or you're with the enemy.
They can use this method to sell phones, violence, cosmetics, or even false wars, like the unwinnable war on terror announced by these degenerates, and the hypocritical war on drugs announced by this master criminal, who is awarding a medal to this man for joining the war on drugs, despite this man being a drug addict. The most popular slogans contain virtue words that embody what slaves in the West have been conditioned to value most dearly. Words like freedom, truth, peace, liberty, and most importantly, democracy. The 20th century has been characterized by three developments of great political importance: the growth of democracy, the growth of corporate power, and the growth of corporate propaganda as a means of protecting corporate power against democracy. Writes Howard Zinn.
마지막 줄을 다시 한번
Let's
보도록
look
하죠.
at that last line again.
민주주의에 반하여
The growth of
기업의
corporate
영향력을
propaganda
보호하기 위한
as a means of
수단으로서
protecting
이용되는
corporate
기업
power
프로파간다의
against
성장.
democracy.
이것이 과연 사실일까?
Is this true?
실상을 한번
Let's look at the facts.
Killed. But your government has
1945년
Since 1945, America has tried to overthrow 50 governments, many of them democracies.
이 과정 중
In the process, over 30 countries and their people have been attacked,
30개국이 넘는 나라에서
including our own
해당
great and
인민에 대한
powerful
공격이
socialist sovereign nation.
그 결과는 어땠는가?
And the result?
민주주의 국가가 아닌
Not one
단
single
하나라도
undemocratic
진정한
country
민주주의로의
has been turned
전략이
into a
이루어지지
genuine
못했다.
democracy.
Open the door! Get your hands up and come outside.
Let's start, sir. Yeah, clear the house now. Let's sweep on down.
I want peace as much as you do.
다른
The
나라를
grotesque act of invading other countries, claiming them as your territory, and stealing their resources to keep your emperor, crown,
한때
or
제국
corporate owners in power used to be known as empire building.
제국 건설을 위한 가장
The
최근의
latest
프로파간다
propaganda slogan for empire building is globalization,
결집이라는
a vague word with warm connotations of unification.
단어. 하지만 이의 진정한
But what it really
의미는
means is the acquisition of other people's resources at any cost
무제한적인
and unlimited slave labor. Slave labor needed to produce the unnecessary goods sold to these slaves.
생산하기 위해 필요한 노동
Slaves to persuasion and influence.
노출되어 있는 노예들. 현실적으로 이들은
In
자신들이
reality,
구매하는 것들에
these are
대해
debt
돈을
slaves,
지불할 수 없기
since they
때문에
can't even afford the things they buy.
노예들이라고도 할 수 있다. 설령
Even in
경기가
times of
붕괴되거나
peril and economic meltdown,
위기상황이라도 그들 대통령의
at the orders of their
명령으로
president,
이들은 계속해서
they must keep consuming.
하여야 한다.
Is this
과연
democracy?
민주주의인가? 2003년 2월
On
15일
February 15, 2003, millions of people worldwide took to the streets in the world's largest ever day of protest,
조작된 구실을 위한
a protest against the pirate Bush regime and their British and Australian lapdogs who wanted to go to war on manufactured grounds. The majority of the world voted agained this war, but were ignored. Is this democracy?
강력한 힘을 가진 1%
The powerful
집단은
1% went ahead with their pre-planned war, as always, using the poorest people's children to do the fighting.
We're here for your fucking freedom! So back up right now!
주지하여야 될 부분은
It's important to note that these cowards were happy to order mass death and destruction,
없음에도 불구하고 파괴와
despite never having been in battle themselves.
주저함이 없다는 것이다.
Is
민주주의란
this
말인가?
democracy?
아니다.
No.
민주주의란 대중이 결정을 도출할 때
Real democracy is when the majority of people make a decision and it's
전
upheld.
세계를 거쳐
For
이루어진
example,
투표에서
in polls taken throughout the world,
거짓으로 짜맞춰진
the vast majority of citizens want to see these war criminals committed to stand trial for crimes against humanity.
시민이란 점을 들어 인간성에 대한 범죄로서
Since 90% of the casualties of their false war on
재판장에 세우는
terror
것에
were innocent
지지표를
civilians.
던졌다.
Front of their televisions,
잡지들을 읽도록 하며
reading gossip magazines, eating vast amounts of toxic food, and shopping, always shopping for the latest fashions and trends.
만드는 것이다. 이것이 프로파간디스트들에게
That's the ideal for propagandists.
상황이라고 할 수 있다. 그리고 그
And great efforts are made in trying to achieve and maintain that ideal.
아끼지 않는다. 대중이 스스로 집단
Anything that keeps the masses from organizing
일반 인민 한 사람
and against them.
대상으로 하고 있다. 물론 이와 같은 건모
Of
술수적
course, such Machiavellian activity requires a disguise, which is why
Designer was brought in to create a $200,000 backdrop for official war briefings.
오늘날 미국 하나만 봐도
Today, America alone has more public relations propagandists than reporters,
이 사실은 서구 사회
which means that nearly half of what people in the West hear, see, or read is written by professional liars.
할수 있다. 전문 거짓말장애의 이 일은
Professional liars whose job it is to keep people in.
심리전에 관한
This is a film about psychological warfare,
왜곡된
a
정보를
specific type of warfare designed to distract,
무감각하게 만들어
misinform,
But trust me,
특정 형태의
and anesthetize the brain.
형식. 심리전은 변장수에는
It has many disguises
많은 모습으로
and is used against every one of them.
아울러 노동자,
Against them, propagandists call themselves the public relations industry.
PR이라 부른다 할 수 있다. 오늘날
But do not be fooled.
사실을 전하는
Public relations and propaganda are interchangeable,
하지만 속지 말아야 할
and it is the massive public relations industry
상호 호환성이 있으며
that is designed to alter perception,
인간의 사고를
reshape reality,
현실을 탈바꿈시켜
and manufacture consent.
생산해내도록 설계된 것일 뿐이다.
A Hollywood set